Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you all so much for being out here on a Sunday afternoon. As Robin said, we could be anywhere else, but we thank God that we're here, right? So, hearing other people's experiences. Before I get into the first experience, I really want to call it the stories experience. I'm going to give you somewhat of the prelude to the book, and it's actually me. I haven't got used to these glasses, supposed to be progressive, but you're supposed to be able to read.
Wait, let me jump in and say something. Hello, family. Let me tell you about this young lady. I told her, I said, now what we're going to do is you're going to read, and then we'll talk. I don't like to read. I don't like to read out loud. Look at it. Go ahead. That's all. This is
And she's like, we're family here, we're family.
family.
Okay, so hearing other people's experiences. After suffering childhood traumatizing experiences, achieving great strides in education, career, and love, I thought all was well. I was in love, married, and part of a family, planning a family. I was getting the family back that I had lost. Well, so I thought. The claws of depression have a way of loosening its grip, but never seeming to let go. I lost my job, my marriage fell apart. I spiraled into a dark pit that seemed to have no end in sight. Daily, my eyes were heavy and filled with tears. I was unable to decipher my thoughts. I lacked sleep, and I literally thought I was losing my mind. The pain of the betrayal of losing my family, losing myself, ran so deep it felt like a part of me had been amputated without the benefits of anesthesia. The thought of ending my life was daily and prevailing, but the fear of dying consumed me even more. It was in 2008, the weekend of President Barack Obama's inauguration in Washington, D.C. It was a time of hope, a time of history, and a time of change. That's where I needed to be. After another sleepless night, I prepared to head to D.C. to witness this historic event. God orchestrated it so that in a house full of people, I was allowed to pause and have a moment of uninterrupted time while I shared my most recent distress with my friend, my sorority sister. She listened to my troubles, comforted me as I bathed myself in tears, and then lovingly shared her experience. Oh my God, not the same story, but it paralleled. But more importantly, she had come through it. She was okay, and I would be too. Yes, I found that trusted companion of hope in hearing other people's experiences. So that is to give you, thank you, some background to where the book, the experiences, the stories, where they birthed from. It's important for me in my ministry, in my business, to help people to tell their story, to help them to understand that they're not by themselves. I know parents, grandparents, just raise your hands if you ever heard the phrase, what happens in this house stays in this house? Oh, okay, so I'm not by myself, right? And so we hear that growing up, what happens in this house stays in this house, and then we become of age, 18, 21, 24, whenever you chose to leave home. But then the house, the edifice, now becomes this temple that God has given us. And in hearing other people's experiences, it gives us hope that we can release what we've been hiding and holding on to for so long. That was the prayer.
No, that's beautiful. And that resonates with me because being raised in Mississippi by my grandmother, Southern, we do not air our dirty laundry. We keep our business to ourselves. We are still magnolias. And we don't tell anybody those deep, dark secrets. But that to me is toxic. I think we can share. I think we can help other people. I think that that is the joy of life. Because somebody has been through what you're going through. And somebody is out there who can help you and counsel you and guide you and show you, most importantly, I'm still here and I went through just about everything you went through. So talk about that a little bit in your life. How do you manage stress? We live in such a high-stress world where there's so many opportunities to just go down. How do you manage that?
Great question. because I'm not managing it so well right now, just being transparent.
Okay.
But usually, I'm a runner. I've been an athlete since the age of 8. Ideally, I should be training for the New York City Marathon this year, but I'll get there. But usually running. Running is the first thing, and I'm fine with going out by myself. It gives me the opportunity to talk to myself, get stuff out in my head. In addition to running, I would say journaling is huge for me. And part of the book, behind each story, there's a reflection page, as you may have saw. So it allows the reader for you to be able to connect what resonated in you, what did you feel as you was reading the book. So journaling is a big thing for me. And it helps me to look back and see, like, okay, I was in this dark place, or I was dealing with this particular issue, and again, thought that I wasn't gonna come out of it, but whether it's a few months, a few years later, I can look back on some of those same journals and see the progress and the growth that I've experienced. So that helps me to manage stress. So, and of course, my faith, prayer, definitely can't leave that out. Music is big with me, all types of music, where it enables me to shift my paradigm thinking from I'm totally overwhelmed to, okay, how do we now shift to now go into a more positive mindset?
Absolutely. I think that is wonderful. Talk to me about hope. What gives you hope?
I think it's different for everybody. But I would say community, links, sororities, different organizations, NAACP, whatever we're involved in. I think community, family gives you hope. As long as you are intentionally involved with that community, it will give you some level of hope. Because again, somebody is going through it. As I read this story, as I looked, I kept looking up and down, and I could see the nodding of the head that, yes, you may not have, been depressed, you may have had some anxiety, you may have been stressed, but when we sit in a sense of community, that's empowering. No woman is an island unto herself.
I like that. One of the things that I know about community, you cannot be in community unless you communicate. You cannot sit in a vacuum and expect your life to flow. So let's talk a bit about communication. What is your communication style? When you sit with a person and you want to connect, how do you move through that? Is it an instant spiritual connection? What is it for you?
Well, the word says try the spirit by the spirit. So, and as was mentioned, I am a minister. But it's really hearing, and I don't want to keep, on the title of hearing. It's really hearing them where they are, being presently present with them in the moment. Oftentimes, we could be sitting here, but you're not present with me. Your body is here, but is your mind here with me?
Amen.
Being presently present allows us to have a richer level of connection and communication. And that's in any setting. I have the opportunity to do some chaplaincy work at a daycare, rehabilitation. And sometimes some of my patients, some of my clients, they don't communicate, but they want you present. They just simply want you present. Presence, I think, is the first step in communicating and having authentic communication.
I absolutely agree. And what a lot of us forget is that the present is literally a gift. You are only safe in the moment that you stand. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen an hour from now. So let's be present. Let's connect with one another. I think that's very powerful. I'm enjoying this very much. And I'm having a ball. Now I want to go to a powerful story. And we've talked about it, so you know where I want to go.
Yeah, I know
right?
where you want to go.
Come on. This is going to do something to you. Because before you read, I want to say something. Each and every one of us has known somebody that flipped. You thought they were one way, you thought they were one thing, you thought you knew them. You honestly did. And then they did something, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought you were my friend. I thought we had a connection. Am I damn? Okay.
So this experience is called I Choose Life. My world is beautiful and blooming. Every morning I awaken to the joy and beauty of a world that is lovely and inviting. I hear birds singing, and I thank the Creator for giving me the ability to embrace a new day. Life is truly exhilarating and joyous for me right now. I must say that was not always the case. In 1988, I was a stay-at-home mom raising 3 beautiful children. I exemplified suburban womanhood. I enjoyed being at home with my children. My husband worked in corporate America, and we had a great relationship. Every day at approximately 10 a.m., I received a personal, sweet-nothing call from my husband. I looked forward to the call. The call made my day. It would be safe to say that that call was the highlight of my day. One day I received my usual 10 a.m. call, but there was something different about the content. As I waited in anticipation for the sweet nothings, I heard a harsh, unknown voice that said in a cold, callous tone, "I don't want to be married to you anymore." What? I thought he was joking. He repeated the statement and hung up the phone. I spent the whole day in a fog. What was going on? What should I do? That evening at 4 p.m., my husband came home, walked into the house, began packing his clothes, taking them to the car. Trip after trip. No suitcase, just bundles in his arms being flung into the back seat of his car. We had a very large front yard, and the children and some of their friends would sometimes play football on the front lawn. Well, this was one of those days. They were accustomed to my husband joining them for a minute or two. However, this day was different. Mr. Scott never saw or acknowledged them. Even the kids on the lawn could sense that something was different. One by one, they left the ball and slowly backed away from the lawn and headed home. In disbelief, my children walked slowly into the house as their father, without even saying goodbye, pulled out of the driveway in his expensive foreign car. I was devastated. I couldn't think, nor could I feel. I was numb. I wanted to hide. I wanted to disappear. Where can I go? What can I do to dismiss the pain that was enveloping my being? I wanted to scream, but no sound would come out. I had to relieve myself of this pain. I quickly dressed myself in a white linen dress and got into my car. With the determination, decided that I knew how to rid myself of this awful pain. I was about to disappear, but where? I was going to go to Hershey State Park. Yes, I can disappear in the ocean. I can relieve myself of this terrible pain. I drove my car into the park, and for about 30 minutes with tears streaming down my cheeks and rain pouring outside. Yes, it had started to rain. I destroyed the undercarriage of my car trying to get over the concrete barrier to drive into the ocean. I no longer wanted to live. I wanted to die. The man who had promised to be with me until death had abandoned his post. I was going to fulfill the promise and allow death to part us. My death. There's a little bit more, but I'll end there.
There's actually a lot of it more. And if you want to find out about this, So, we've all heard stories of people with flute. Now here's this man whispering, calls her at 10 o'clock every day, whispering sweet nothings. Now when I think about that at this age, I think that something's a little wrong with that. That's a little too methodical. I like a little more spontaneity with my love. Every day at 10 o'clock, what is going on? How are you calibrated? There are always signs to psychosis. Always. There are always red flags that people wave. As Dr. Maya Angelou used to say, may she rest in great peace. If a person shows you who they are, leave them the first time. So you're going to buy the book, and you're going to find out there were some things he was up to. And when she thought she was driving into the ocean, she thought about her children, but then she thought about those warning signs that she did not acknowledge. Okay? So, Madame, how do you deal with it when a person, because we've all had this happen in our lives, and it is hurtful, when you trust a person and you have connected with that person, and then they do something and you are absolutely broken. I know it's happened to you. How do you process that? How do you deal with that?
Oh, Lord.
I know.
It definitely is a process of understanding that the situation's not going to change and or disappear overnight. And I would say for me, the first thing, because first the pity party gets thrown. I don't got nobody else. I'm just going to be real. The pity party is woe with me. How could you? You know, you know, and we know if you're pointing one finger out, how many are pointing back? You know, there's the four pointing back, right? So it's always the you. Once I shift out of the you and the blame, it becomes a reflection period. Okay, what part did I play in? Even if the part is not seeing the red flags of the relationship.
Very good, yes.
Which is difficult, and again, it's a process to get to that place. But with age, with wisdom, with community, being able just to talk to some other people who will challenge and push the envelope, and myself, V, what didn't you see about this?
Okay, right, what didn't you see?
Right. As opposed to it's great to have community and have friends and sisterhood where people are like, yeah. But you do need that one person to stop and just check you and say,
That's right.
you played a role in this too.
Those are your best friends. Those are the people I value the most. Just the people who say, no, wait a minute now. You're off course. Those are your anchors. Now, one thing. Let's talk about the windows to the soul. The eyes never lie. Do you want to read or do you want to talk? It's up to you. Okay. Because I want everybody in the family to be comfortable. This speaks to sexual abuse in the family. And it speaks to something that, again, we keep our dirty laundry private. We don't want to share. There's so many walking wounded in our communities that have not expressed not just sexual abuse, but verbal abuse, emotional abuse, that they're still carrying around with them, and you cannot move through life and take a good trip dragging your luggage behind you. So the reason I want this chapter resonated with me is because my mother's always telling me, and I'm 57 years old, and she's still, you told him that. You said that. You should keep it. You're going to have to learn to keep more things to yourself. I'm like, for what?
Who is it benefiting?
Who is it benefiting?
Exactly. That's true.
I'm ashamed of nothing. So I connect with people through community and through sharing. And I think all of us would be a lot lighter, a lot less stressed, a lot happier, and be a better part of a community if we learn to speak our truth.
Yes, that's true.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
Authenticity.
Yes.
How important is that? To walk in it
Every day.
but it's hard to walk in it if you can't embrace it. You know, we have a tendency to want to expect something from other people that we're not willing to do for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And just, again, being transparent. This book took 8 years to come out because I didn't want to walk in my authentic truth. How could I possibly ask you to share some of their deepest and darkest pain when I wasn't willing to share? And God was like, you're going to work on me. And he did for 8 years, and he would not let me go. I had to stand in my truth of my pain, my anxiety. And that opened the door for so many other women to be able to share their truth. Authenticity is a powerful movement process that we can all benefit from.
Authenticity gives you hope. It gives you hope. And do you want to do a little Q&A? Just a little bit?
Yeah.
Sure, but I don't want to eat up the time. I know
Do we
got
have a little
beautiful-
time for just a little Q&A?
Yeah.
And you're gonna tell me when I'm
I will tell you.
very good. All right. Ladies, gentlemen, does anyone have a question? Uh-oh, I love this. Okay, we'll go with you. Stand up, my dear. What is your name?
My name is Cassandra.
Hi, Cassandra.
Hello, everyone. My question is, in that 8-year journey, what was that point in which you was ready to be transparent and authentic? Was there a light bulb moment where you say, you know what, I'm ready to move forward with this, I'm ready to come clean? What was that moment for you?
There was a constant tug over the 8 years, being in a position where I was able to counsel so many college students and encouraging them in their truth, their authenticity. There was a part of me that was like, you're being hypocritical. You're being hypocritical. You know, you're doing these talks, these trainings for everybody else, but you're not living what you're talking. And again, it was difficult because even once I pressed the send button, I was in England, I went home, and I had given myself a deadline and said, okay, New Year's Eve.
Yeah, she's from England.
Yeah, I'm British.
Oh.
I don't use my
Where's the accent?
And that's exactly why I don't use it. Right, Lena makes me
I would like to
use
hear a
it.
little bit, actually, but I'll let you do it.
Thank you. I'd given myself a deadline to say New Year's Eve 2013. I will send out the first blast of asking for these stories. And I played a game with myself. I said, which New Year's Eve am I going to use? Because England, we're 5 hours ahead of America. So I played this game trying to buy myself more time. But it was really just stepping into my truth that you're not being authentic and you're being hypocritical. And I guess I had to be in a comfort zone and a safe place, and that was me going home to England. And that's why I actually finally launched and put it out there into the universe. And then I was now held accountable to deliver.
And I saw your hand, and then I see you, but I'm gonna take this young lady first on the front row. Tell us your name.
Hi, Denise Williams. How do you balance out being truthful and authentic, and as you were starting to share, balance out that element of being open and trustful?
Being open and trustful.
That's a good one.
Finding the line, so to speak, the line in the sand, so if I'm communicating and speaking, and a lot of times it's with, women and students, finding that place to connect. I had an evaluation the other day for my chaplaincy work, and that was one of the big things that came out. It was like, you know how to connect. I tend to find that loop where I can go in, which allows me to be authentic and also allow them to share. I had a client last week, 92-year-old woman, and well, she was talking about suicide. She's like, I have no purpose. I have no purpose. And as I kept listening to her, part of me was like, oh God, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? But understanding that the biggest thing is ministry of presence. But when she talked about she didn't have any purpose, I was able to say to her, I fully understand how you feel. I've been in that place of feeling I don't know where I belong, I don't have a purpose. After I just recently lost my mother. And that allowed her to now turn to me and just, so finding, one of the things when I was in school for my doctoral studies, for research and those, whether you're in the master's degree, they always tell you, find the whole in your research. And it's that find the whole within the conversation, and I begin to see where can I fit in that whole, and that allows the authenticity and the truth to move forward with level of ease and comfort on both parts.
Okay, I saw this young lady right here.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Gamboa. Thank you so much for your song.
Thank you.
I would like to know, thank you for the authenticity, the truthfulness. I just want to know, how do you deal with negativity that comes from, those that, despise, what you are doing and that are against it? Because, I admire you because, I'm becoming more transparent through the experiences that I have gone through, and so I want to know how you deal with the negativity because I get it a lot, and I continue to be truthful in all of my experiences and share, and, you know, to help motivate, but I just want to know, you know, what advice do you have?
Vulnerability. There's a difference between truthful and being vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable with people, it allows them to see you. And for the longest time, I wouldn't allow them to see me. They saw an external me. Once I started to allow myself to become vulnerable, and I'm still working on it, trust me. I hear Philly talking about, I'm still working on it, but vulnerability, because once people understand, like, okay, she's not that hard, or she's not the way I thought she was, because I allowed some authenticity and the vulnerability to come forward. It's like, oh, okay, so I don't need to have these negative thoughts against her. Additionally, how the I am, and this is not a shameless plug, the I am line came about was changing questions. I used to always question myself because of negative thoughts. Am I enough? And God got a hold of me and basically was like, change that into a statement. I am enough. And so a lot of times when negativities come, we begin to question ourselves. So whatever those questions are, as you're asking for advice, begin to turn them into positive affirmations for yourself. And stand on that and walk in that.
Thank you.
Last question.
We have one more question, this lady right here.
I didn't know if you were looking at me. Good afternoon, Sonia Verna. Can you talk about the point where you realized you needed to be obedient to God's purpose? You know,
You want to go there?
because there's a struggle between what we define as our purpose and what God feeds to us.
That's an excellent question.
If I heard you correctly, you said the time when did I decide to become obedient? That is still a daily struggle. Premise that, whether Felita said I'm an associate minister or not, let me be very clear. That is still a daily struggle that Veroni still wants to do what Veroni wants to do. Especially when life is not going the way I think it ought to, and life starts lifing and people start peopling. Right, and money ain't right and everything else along those lines. But what, on a serious note, what helped me to begin to walk in my purpose was realizing it was effortless. Your purpose becomes effortless. Doors will begin to open for you that you're not even asking for. Such as this right here. I wasn't asking for this. You know, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, but your purpose will become effortless for you. So I think that's the simplest way that I can put it.